Hello again. In this video we'll cover the second part of the classification of the English vowel sounds, and we'll focus on lip rounding, diphthongs, and the vowel R. Let's begin with lip rounding. As the name suggests, this refers to whether the lips are rounded or not in the production of the vowel sounds. Now, something important to mention is that our lips change their shape according to the vowel sounds that we pronounce. So in some vowel sounds, our lips are wide open, in others they're rather spread to the sides, and yet in some others they are pursed or rounded. Now let's look at 5 basic positions of our lips to pronounce these vowel sounds: a, e, I, o, u. These are similar to the ones in Spanish, but they are not exactly the same. So the first position, lips rounded. Second position, mouth wide open. Third position, lips rounded and pursed. Next position, the lips are spread to the sides, the mouth is almost closed. And finally, the last position, the lips are spread, right? But the mouth is partly open. The lips are not as close together as for the previous position. So if you see, these shapes can help us to produce those sounds. O, the form of the lips is very similar to the shape of the letter O actually. And then of course A is the one that the doctor tells us to do when he or she needs to check our throats, right? Then of course U needs you to purse your lips so that you can produce the semi-vowel at the end, which is bilabial. The next one will be E, and finally we will have E. So these are the basic positions, but then some sounds are going to be produced with a very similar position. For example, O will be similar to O, and then A will be similar to A, and then E will be similar to U, and E will be similar to E, and of course the A sound is going to be between E and E, and finally the sound E is going to be similar to the pronunciation of the sound E. Okay, so these are 5 basic positions of the lips, but then depending on the kind of sound that we're producing, there could be small variations from these positions, but these ones are very, very noticeable. So when you pronounce these sounds, you will see your lips change and adopt different shapes. Now, if you want to verify this in practice, I suggest that you pronounce all of the vowel sounds in English while looking at yourself in the mirror. You will see how the shape of your lips changes when you're pronouncing different sounds. Especially check when your mouth changes when you go from E to U. There is a noticeable change. It is time to summarize all of the information that we have about the vowel sounds in English. So first of all, we can classify them according to tone height. Some of them can be high, mid, or low. They could be front, central, or back according to frontness and backness. And some of them, as indicated in the grid, are tense and some of them are lax. Now, if we look at lip rounding, we will classify them as unrounded, such as E, and E, and A, and E, and A, and E, and E. And some of them will be rounded, such as U, and U, and O, and O. And finally, an unrounded sound will be A. So, just to summarize this information, it is very clear here in the diagram that the only rounded sounds are the ones that are related to the sounds U and O, as shown in the pictures that I showed you before with the shapes of the lips. Okay, so now we have a complete classification of the vowel sounds. I will conclude this part by showing you where the vowel sounds are produced in the mouth. We can see the diagram again. We can see how some vowels are produced with the front, central, or back part of the tongue. We can see which vowels are high, or mid, or low. And now we will compare them to the Spanish sounds. So in the Spanish language, there are only 5 vowel sounds: a, e, I, o, u. These sounds are very different to the English sounds, because if you see our a is a little lower, that means that ours is a and theirs is a. And also when we see the sound I, our I is different from both of the English sounds, because the first one in English is e and the second one is I. So our I is between those two sounds, and the same thing happens with our U. It's just in the middle between e and u. So it is very important to compare these sounds, because based on this we can see how from our native language that contains only 5 vowel sounds, we need to produce a wider and more varied range of vowel sounds in order to speak English. We are now in a position to describe the vowel sounds according to tongue height, frontness or backness, tenseness or laxness, and lip rounding. For example, we can describe a vowel sound as being low front, tense and rounded vowel, or high back, lax rounded vowel. Of course, the first one is e and the second one is u. So this is the way in which we are going to describe all vowel sounds. Let us now turn to the description of the English diphthongs. Now, diphthongs are complex sounds because they are made up of a vowel and a semi-vowel. Unlike the glided vowels, in which there is limited movement of the tongue and the mouth in general, in diphthongs there is a wide movement of the tongue and the lips. There is a complex change from one position to another, and that is why they are called diphthongs. Now, there are only 3 diphthongs in English, which are I as in the word buy, ow as in the word bow, and oi as in the word boy. These are the 3 diphthongs in English, not to be confused with the glided vowels, which are e, a, u, and o. This diagram shows the tongue movements for the production of the 3 English diphthongs. So we can see that in the first case, for the diphthong I, the tongue moves from a low central position to a high front position. In the case of ow, the tongue moves from a central low position to a back high position. And finally, for the case of oi, the tongue moves from a back mid position to a front high position. So that is why these sounds are classified as diphthongs and not as glided vowels. So when we provide a description of the English diphthongs, we're going to take into account the 4 criteria for the description of the vowel sounds, but we're also going to indicate the movement of the tongue from one position to another. For example, low high, central back, tense rounded diphthong, which is ow, and mid high, back front, tense rounded diphthong, which is oi. So the description is exactly the same as for the other vowels, except that we're going to take into account the 2 positions of the tongue at the beginning and at the end of the sound. We'll close our lesson on the English vowel sounds by talking about a very special vowel sound, which is or er. Now, when we pronounce the words bird and urban and first and sir and purse and word and fur and early and gur and service and work and church and search and person and learn and purple and world and butter and letter and major and faster, we see that all of them, despite the fact of having a different letter in writing are pronounced with exactly the same sound, which is So a combination of plus r is a very common one in English, especially in words that end with er, and of course it can also be represented with one single symbol, which is Let us not forget this, because we're going to find this sound in lots of words in the English language. So that was for the lesson on the vowel sounds of English. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I'll be seeing you next time.